These are the 6 things that all million-dollar side hustles have in common. You see, the issue is that people get overwhelmed by starting up a new business because they want to create some extra cash flow for themselves. Maybe they want to get away from a job that they don't like. Maybe they want to get the seed money necessary to start investing in real estate. But you think about all these traditional routes and you think, oh, there are so many steps that I have to go through. It'll be weeks before I can get started. Well, that's not what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about the right types of businesses that you can start that will, number one indicator is 1 week to an MVP. MVP means a minimal viable product. That means that we're not going out to start these businesses that are going to take years of training, that they're going to take certifications with the state, with the federal government. They take testing and all these kind of things to get started. That's not what we're looking for today. Now, I've been able to start and scale a construction company to $5 million, also property management, and also a mechanical, electrical, plumbing company. Now, this mechanical, electrical, plumbing company, that's a great company to have, especially these days where home services are really in need. But the thing is, it took me a year to get all the licenses necessary to start this mechanical, electrical, plumbing company. And that's great if you have other cash flow like I did from these other businesses, but that's not one that I was going to start day one. So number one is, can you start this business within a week? Now, actually, the rest of these 6 are going to explain how you find these businesses that can start within a week. So number 2 is a business that you can start for $1,000 or less. And this is one of the things that get people hung up right from the start, is they think they need to go out and get an SBA loan. They need to get all this big equipment. They need to have huge marketing campaigns, or maybe they have to go get an office. Maybe they have huge legal expenses right from the start. That's not what we want to do. No, guys, if it takes a loan to get started, that's a business acquisition. That's not a side hustle. So I want to go through 5 things here. I'm going to bring my clipboard so I can remember these. So number 1 is the office. I already mentioned that. Most people think that a business needs an office to get started. It was years of running a business before I decided to get an office. And the only reason I got an office is because I bought a piece of commercial real estate. And so I could basically pay myself to reside in that office. By reside, I mean my business, not myself. So what did I do before I had the office? Is I would meet people at coffee shops. Nobody thinks anything of it. We would have full-on meetings where we had multiple people on the team at a big table at a coffee shop. If I had to meet an investor or if I had to meet a customer, I would meet them on site, or I'd pick a coffee shop, some kind of local place. I'd never talk about the fact that I didn't have an office. It's okay to run without one for a while. And it's a huge expense. You really don't need it in most cases, especially with a home service business, which is mostly what we're talking about today. Equipment. You might think that you need a big equipment loan. Well, listen, I started a dumpster business, and I did. I had to put $120,000, $150,000 down to buy the truck, to buy all the dumpsters. That's not the type of side hustle that you want to start day one. Maybe that's something you do in the future after you have cash flow from somewhere else. The equipment is going to be low cost, or it's going to be things that you already have. Now, if you do need a bigger piece of equipment to do whatever side hustle you choose, maybe it's something that you could rent. And that's something you need to be researching before you start the business is, are the pieces of equipment that you need available for rent locally? 2 was equipment. Number 3 is a big marketing campaign. A lot of people think that they need to go out and get billboards. They need to pay a marketer to build them a nice custom website. They need to pay monthly services for SEO or some other marketing crap. That's not what you need, especially with the types of businesses that we're going to talk about today. And we're actually going to hit a little bit on how you market this business. And then finally is legal and such. This is another one that, like, I see people talking about this all the time, that they got to hire a lawyer to draft up all these documents and such. Well, guys, I do agree that you need to protect yourself after you have a business that's up and running and you're making a lot of money. But on day one, you don't have any money. You have literally nothing to protect at that time. And so the thing that you do need to do is probably start an LLC to where the business is separate from yourself. If it's under your own name, it's called a sole proprietorship. And then if something goes wrong, they could in fact come after you. But you put it in an LLC. You can start this up online. You don't need anybody to do that. There's services all over for super cheap online. You put it in an LLC, you start a checking account underneath that business name, and you run everything through there. So you'll give whatever the $1,000 or less of seed money you need. You'll put it into that account, and that's what you'll use to get your business started. Now, number 3 is scale. Is the business scalable over time? Now, what do I mean by scalable? All right, well, today you're starting a side hustle to start generating extra cash. And it's good that at the beginning, you're doing all the work yourself. You're doing the things on your own so you understand how they work. But what you want to do over time is you learn how they work, and then you're going to have systems and processes. And when you have systems and processes, you're able to put somebody in your place. All right, now go back to number 1 where we said 1 week MVP. This meant that you don't need special certifications. You don't need 6 months, 12 months, 18 months of training to go through to do this. That means that you're going to be able to hire somebody in your place. Think like window washing. You can go hire people from restaurants to do window washing. You could train them in a weekend. That's the type of businesses that you're looking for. Businesses where you can easily replace yourself. Now, you're irreplaceable because you're thinking through all the steps and you're thinking about how to make these repeatable processes. Then you can put somebody in your place. That's what I mean by scalable. Number 4 is it real estate adjacent. Now, if you've watched anything on this channel, you know that I'm a real estate investor. I want to teach people how they can grow long-term wealth through owning rental real estate. And you get there by having cash flow from a service business that you can start as a side hustle while you're working your other job. And then eventually you move into flips, and eventually those flips become rentals. Therefore, a side hustle that I'm looking for is involved in real estate. But there's more reasons why it should be involved in real estate other than the fact that you're trying to build long-term wealth through real estate, so you learn a little bit there. But by nature, a home service business is adjacent to real estate. So as you're learning that business, you're also going to be getting exposure to real estate. But there's a bigger reason why it should be real estate adjacent. And that's because it's easy to find pain. What do I mean by pain? Well, there's real estate agents, there's home investors, there's residents of the home, there's landlords, there's property managers, there's general contractors. All of these people have pains that they have to deal with. They have problems in their business that are hard to solve, and they would like to have somebody that would come in there and solve those problems for them. And I actually did a whole video on all of the pain points and what businesses you could start, uncommon businesses that you could start that would fill those pain points, that would solve those problems for them. And those are the types of businesses that you want to start. Now, how do you find those? And that actually leads into the direct path to money. Not big marketing budgets, a direct path to money. And so what I do to find these side hustles that are going to be able to grow into a business that's $1 million revenue per year for you and create cash flow is you go to Facebook groups. In every one of your towns, there are Facebook groups for real estate investors. There's Facebook groups for real estate agents, for property managers, and they post on there that I have a problem and I need a solution. Of course, they don't say it exactly like that, but you're going to read the comments, the things that people are asking for on there, and you're going to pick up trends. You're going to see that, oh gosh, you know what? A problem that people run into all the time is that after all the contractors go away, there's nicks in the drywall and the paint, and they can't get their painters to come back. And so it would be great to start a little side hustle where all I do is I go fix those little touch-ups, and I have clients right there. So when a marketing agency gets hired, one of the first things that they do is they do keyword research. They go on Google and they look at all the things that people search for in Google for a certain topic. And really, a good business person creates their business based upon the demand that already exists. They don't create a business and then hope to find the demand. And that's what you're doing with the direct path to money by looking at Facebook groups and what people are talking about, maybe local neighborhood groups. You're looking at what the problems are, and you're looking to see if there are people commenting on there that have solutions for their problem and direct solutions. If you think about the example, maybe it was a bad one that I just gave you about the painter with the paint nicks and the chips. Well, you might have like a big painting company that says, hey, we can do that. But the reality is a painting company wants big paint jobs. That's how they create scale in their own company. So they don't really want to do these little tiny jobs. And so what they do when they get a tiny job on the hook like that, well, they give them I don't really want to do this job kind of price, which means it's priced 3, 4, 5, 10x higher than what it should be. But if you made a business that was solely about this one problem and solving just this one problem, now you could do it way more efficiently than all of those other companies. And that's the type of thing you're looking for. So not only are you finding a problem that needs a solution that already has pain, but you also have a pre-built-in marketing plan, because all you got to do is find the people that comment on these things and say, hey, that's exactly what I do. That's the only thing I do. And I can do it for a better price, not cheap, because you don't want to become a commodity, but you can give a better price than everybody else because that's all you do. So you create efficiencies in that. And guys, it's a side hustle. You're competing against these guys who have businesses and multiple employees, and you'll get there. But right now it's just you. So if you can go do this job, pick up some extra money, pick up some experience that will ultimately lead to skills that will ultimately lead to what you need to be able to scale, to be able to put people in your position, well, that's a great thing for you. It's a win-win-win. Now, remember, guys, this is all about, for me, this is all about, I need to create cash flow today through a side hustle that can ultimately turn into a business that continually creates cash flow for myself. So that way that I have enough money to where I can put some money into a house flip that gives me a big swing of cash. And now that I have some real cash in the bank, now I can start holding rentals. And holding rentals is the gift that keeps on giving. That's how you truly create generational wealth for yourself. But this is the first step, is you got to create yourself some cash flow. And also in that, you're going to be picking up experience as well. And I know that a lot of people are out there watching YouTube videos trying to look for the get rich quick, get rich easy types of schemes. Guys, I don't think they exist. I think that everything requires work. Everything is going to have problems that you're going to have to face and you're going to have to get through. And so you might as well face it right now that if you want to get rich, if you want to ultimately become wealthy, you got to put in the work. And this is where you start putting in the work, because this type of business doesn't have a lot of risk. The only thing you're really risking is your time and maybe $1,000 or less. But what you're getting is skills, right? You're getting the knowledge. You're learning about that business. You're getting experience. Experience times knowledge equals skills. Skills is the real wealth here. Once you have the skills, you're going to be able to create the generational wealth that you're looking for. They say that the first million is the hardest for people to get, for investors to acquire. And then after that, it starts to steamroll. And the reason isn't because of it takes money to make money. Of course, it is a little bit. Of course, you have $1 million, you can go invest it. But the reality is the skills that people pick up in that path to their first $1 million is just something that can't be taken away from them. And once they have those skills, they can recreate that $1 million over and over and over again. And that's what we're doing here. Thanks for watching. Guys, if you want to know how you create this wealth for yourself, how you invest it in real estate, watch some of my other videos, and I'll see you soon.